actually held a live wild bear cub. Well, let me tell you about an experience I had. I was a biology student at the University of Puget Sound, which is up in Seattle. I intended to go into marine biology, but of course, as most of you know, that career changed. One Saturday afternoon, I was sitting in my dorm studying a lot for a test that I had to take. I got a phone call from one of the college professors, and he asked me if I was doing anything during my spring break. I informed him that I was just going to go back home to Albuquerque, and he said, well, how would you like to help me and a couple of grad students tag bear cubs up in Canada? I thought about it for a while, and I said, what's in it for me, basically? He said, well, you know, probably a fairly good grade in one of your classes that you're taking. Of course, I opted for it. So the following day, I went to his office and talked to him and tried to find out a little more about what was going to go on. He said, well, we are to leave, you know, that Sunday and fly up to a small village in northern Canada. He said there we're going to meet up with some Canadian wildlife people, and we're going to attempt to locate bears' dens that had cubs in them, get the cubs, and put a band around them. And we've all seen those type of bands on National Geographic and stuff. This way, they can determine, you know, how far they travel when they eat and foraging and roaming. Then these bands were also made such that they would expand, so they would stay with the bears for about 5 years. And this way they could tell mating habits, and if they stay within the same geographical area, if they move out quite a bit, and just gathering information. So I said, that sounds like something I'd like to do. And he told me that we would, like I said, we would be leaving it on Sunday. So he also said, what you got to do, you got to go and buy yourself some cold weather gear, because it's still cold up there in the 1st of April. So I went to a camping store and trying on coats. Now, you know, it's very, very cold up there. So you put on these heavy coats and you'd look like the Michelin, you know, tire man. You know, you're walking like this because you had to have the leggings and everything else because of the temperature. So anyway, I spend, you know, several $100s and buy all the equipment I think I need. Then I pack it, put it in a suitcase, go to the airport, and get on an airplane. So I get on the airplane, find my seat, and I'm sitting there. And the flight from Seattle to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan was about 2.5 hours. So it's a very comfortable flight, and you know, read your magazines, and I'm reading what my job would be when I got to our base camp. We landed in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And from the big plane, we boarded a second plane. It was more like this, you know, one of the small planes, you know, and you're sitting, you know. And that was just about an hour-and-a-half flight up to a little town called Norm, Saskatchewan. And I thought there, we'd set up our base camp. Well, what I didn't know was we had further to go. We got off the small aircraft and got into a helicopter. Headset sit like this, you know, looking out the windows. And it's really kind of fun flying a helicopter. We landed in a lovely spot. It was at the beginning of a big, huge lake. And we got out of the helicopter and unloaded all our gear. And I said, man, this is fantastic. Look at the, you know, beautiful scenery. What a place to have camp. Well, I didn't notice the 4 canoes that were by our, what I thought was going to be our campsite. So again, you know, we load up everything in canoes. Then for the next, you know, 2 hours, we're doing this. And we eventually get up to our base camp. The Canadians had already identified the previous spring and summer potential bear dens. And the purpose of our visit was to, like I said, band these bear cubs. Now, I didn't know, but bear cubs wake up a little earlier than their mothers do, and they start, you know, getting a little curious on what's going on. So the deal was, they would come out of their den, and you'd kind of stand out to the side, and you'd make a noise to make them come out. And one of the biologists would grab the bear by the head, pull him out real quick, and we had to band him and everything else, and you just put him back in. Well, that's something I wanted to do. I wanted to try it. So they said, well, you know, have you done it before? I said, no, but said it's more difficult than it looks. I said, well, let me give it a shot. So I stand there and I ring this little bell thing, and sure enough, this little bear kind of sticks his head out. So when I reach for the bear, he sees me, I think, and he turns around and he starts heading back in the den. I reach in and I start pulling that leg, and you know what? I wasn't pulling that bear's leg half as much as I'm pulling yours.